Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And today I am just so thrilled to have Dee Bowden back on the show. Now, Dee was like way back in terms of the Author to Authority podcast, but I loved her episode on Collect the Cash. And so if you want to listen to the original one, the link will be in the show notes. But you know, I'm so excited to invite her back today because she has written the book. And so I wanted to get her talking today, sharing the knowledge. And you know what? You're going to want to listen to this because if you've ever had problems collecting the cash in your business, you know, that customer, that client that just will not pay, then this episode is for you. So Dee, why don't you take a few minutes, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to your fabulous listeners around the world. So I'm gonna do a course correction. Actually, my last name is Bowden. It's not Bowden, but
sorry, Bowden.
No problem. So it's Dee Bowden. But anyway, listen, first of all, I'm honored to be back on the Author to Authority podcast. So first of all, thank you so much for that. Thanks, Kim, to you, and for just a chance to come back and tell this story. So who am I? So I'm Dee Bowden. I'm originally from Boston. I live in the great state of Maryland. Fun facts about me. I love Ferris wheels, smooth jazz, hot air balloons, and a great glass of wine, both red and white. So my red wine drinkers, woohoo! White ones, woohoo! Either one, it don't matter. As long as you like good wine, we can hang out, we can talk. So my story, the journey to become, author Dee Bowden started like this. About 15 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm from. You know what it's like when you get hired and they say, welcome aboard. And they bring you to your cubicle, bring you to that box and that special little plant they give you. I'm just kidding, but it goes with the story. So then you get brought in, you're like, okay, welcome aboard. Here's your cubicle, here's your box, here's your plant. And in my case, here's the list of outstanding accounts that we have not been able to collect money on to the tune of $8 million. What? Right, that part. Are you serious? I'm very serious. This is a true story. This is part of the story that's in the book. So imagine I get hired. They're like, can you come in and collect this money? Now, y'all have to understand, I was a part-time collector. I only worked Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. They said, this company is a small IT company. We're talking less than 100 people. And they had a collections team, people that do this on a regular basis. I'm part-time. I'm like, okay. So they're like, here, your resume says you can collect. Let's see what you can do. Here's your test, $8 million. I bet. So I'm a believer. So me and God had a short conversation. Hey, God. Yes, Dee. How are you? You know what, God? Overall, I am fantastic. But your word says, if you lack wisdom, come see you. This is the DBV version. I'm like, hey, God, I don't know how to collect $8 million. I need you to show me or give me a clue on what I'm supposed to do. So when I got quiet, what came up was that business-to-business collections, whether you're a small, medium, or large business, you have to do 3 things. You have to do problem solving. AKA what had happened was, why didn't I get paid? Customer service is solving the problem in terms of, did something go wrong? Let's say you ordered 10 sets of sneakers and you only got 8, but you paid for 10. That's a problem. Then customer service is dealing with the company to figure out what happened to my other 2 sneakers and how are you going to fix this? And then gratitude is when they resolve the problem. So problem solving, customer service, gratitude is what I came out of my conversation with God with. And I said, oh, okay, problem solving, $8 million. That's a huge problem. Customer service. I work for this company. I need to get on the phone and find out what had happened was, how come you haven't paid all these invoices? Then the gratitude was when the people took my phone call, when they told me, for example, one customer said, Dee, the reason you haven't, of the $8 million, we have $2 million that we can pay you once you reformat the invoices to the new system that we're using, we'll pay y'all. I was like, are y'all kidding? They're like, no. And they said, we notified all of our customers that we were changing the billing system. So it'd be like going from using Microsoft Excel to using QuickBooks. I said, oh, can you just resend that email so I have it so I can show my manager what had happened? Sure. I get that in 1 week, $2 million of the $8 million is done because of a phone call, because of doing the 3 things, doing problem solving, doing customer service, and then expressing gratitude. The gratitude, most people are like, what does gratitude have to do with collecting cash? It has everything to do with it, because when you're owed money and somebody finally cuts you that check, when you go back and say thank you, it matters, because you're not just collecting the cash, you're building relationships. Because when you're in business, when you get your first sale or your second sale or your third sale or your 100th sale, The people have a choice whether they do business with you or not. And when you acknowledge them and say thank you, that sets you apart. It's no different than during the holiday season. If you get a Christmas card, season's greetings card from a client or a customer, they usually say, thank you, happy holidays. Thank you for your service or for being our customer all year long. We want to wish you a great holiday season, and we look forward to serving you in the following year. So in this case, it would be 2022. What are they doing? They're thanking you for being their customer. They're doing exactly what I'm talking about. They're doing customer service because they're trying to show you, they're trying to make sure that you are top of mind for the next time you need sneakers, tires, whatever. Yep. Versus you're like, man, I done spent all this money with this customer. I ain't got a cupcake. I ain't got nothing. They ain't called nothing. So the people who go above and beyond, those are people that you want to do business with. And so while you're listening to this funny story, maybe I can go back and tell y'all. So what had happened was after the $8 million. So I collect $6 million in 60 days while working part-time. Now, why this matters to you as a business owner as you're listening, you're like, well, Dee, I don't have $6 million. You might have $6. It don't matter. It's the same thing. If somebody owes you money, you still got to figure out what happened. You need to do customer service and do gratitude. So the business closes. The CEO says, listen, I want everybody to come downstairs. We're like, okay, we think we're about to get a bonus. We think we're good. We think we're great. So we're about to be good. So we get downstairs. He says, listen, I want to thank everybody across all services, across contracts, order entry, fulfillment, all the things. We made an executive decision. We're closing the company. Now, I done collected $6 million for them, mind you. They closed the company after we get the money. And 100 people that are small businesses lose their job, including me. The small business, I'm sorry, the small business and the 100 people who work for the small business, lose their job, including me. So when Kim asked me to come back on and tell this story, it was more about, what had happened was, because here's the thing, you might be a small business owner today, and you're like, I got people who owe me money. So you got to problem solve. You got to figure out what happened. You have to do customer service because your responsibility as a business owner is to make sure that the sale is complete and the money's in the bank. So after going through this experience, I had some choice words. I'm going to keep it professional and keep it good, but I had some choice words after what had happened to me. I'm like, are you serious? What? So this is years ago, but here's the thing. What really prompted this was last year, watching COVID. COVID took out lots of businesses. And here's the biggest lesson I saw with COVID. When Broadway in New York City, Times Square shut down and there was no theater, no plays, no musicals, nothing. I saw my story relived over and over and over again. Because think about it. You've got Broadway, which is a multi-million dollar business. All the theaters had small business owners that had planned to sell their services, their tchotchkes or whatever inside the theater. All of them are shut down. They've got sales on the books. They've already ordered all the merchandise, all the things, and they can't sell them, which means their sales are not complete and there's no money in the bank. So I'm watching my story relived over and over and over again. And I'm seeing this going, okay. And a buddy of mine said, who was a book coach, said, Dee, what do you do again? So I tell this story and she says, Dee, you have a system. You can teach business owners how to win. Would you please teach us how to win? And so she kept nudging me until I said, yes, I will write the book and I will tell my story. And I will share the journey of what happened to me personally and why this is not just another, oh my gosh, what a great story. No, this is if you're a business owner, you need to have a tracking system. You need to know how many accounts you have. You need to know how much money is owed to you and what do you do when you don't get paid or you get ghosted. How about this? You do the work and then the people just ghost you. Don't show up. You don't know where they are. You're like, didn't we do this work? Yeah, but I don't know where they are. They just leave you high and dry. We talk about all those things in the book, but the bigger thing was to embrace the fact that what I do, which is collecting cash or teaching business owners how to collect the cash, has value. Because if you think about it, most people, when they hear collections, they cringe because they're thinking somebody who's, their car is being repossessed, the medical bills, all those things. That's consumer collections. I deal with business to business collections. I'm talking about when you do work and you don't get paid. How do you fix that? What do you do? How do you not mess up the relationship and answer the question of what had happened with us?
Wow. Yeah, I was just thinking back And it was actually April 2020 that I think we recorded the episode. And so everything had just happened at that point. We're now 18 months later. Like it totally completely blows my mind. And the numbers here in Ontario are going back up, and they're saying, we're probably going to be in this for another 6 to 8 months. We haven't even experienced freedom yet. We're still under slight lockdown. We've been on lockdown since November, December last year. I mean, we can go out and do things now, but there's still restrictions everywhere.
Yeah, and I think here in the States we're about to go back into that again. So.
Yeah, we know Ontario never left. It's just yay. Yeah. But it's funny when you talked about, they said to you, well, you said on your resume. And the thought that occurred to me was, yeah, you better be careful what you put on your resume.
Yeah, because you actually have to produce. Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. But I use that as an example because number one, it was to show that I was credentialed and that I had the experience. But so writing the book, becoming an author. I mean, when we talked last year, as a matter of fact, what's funny is we recorded the interview April of 2020, and the book came out April of 2021, a year to the day.
That is so cool.
It was. And so speaking cool. Of which, so let me tell you about launch day. I'll tell you about launch day. Launch day for Collect the Cash was amazing. So my bestie and I went to New York City in Times Square, and we actually launched the book in Times Square on a billboard.
I love it.
It was amazing. So just here's imagine, sitting down thinking, okay, you're going to write this book. Now, when I started the journey, I just had the idea I'm gonna write the story. And actually, before I started writing the book, my book coach had me cracking up because I played double dutch. I was like, I don't think I want to do this. So we were in, out, in, out, in, out. She was like, come on. So finally I said yes. And then I took the course, and I get the outline of my book, and I'm, figuring out the chapters, this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay. And then I get to the end of the 90 days, and I'm like, I'm not really sure I have a book here. I don't know what I got, but I got something I kind of scratched out for 90 days. And then I had to kind of sit with the fact that, okay, this is not the book. This is the beginning of the author's journey. Then it was to go get a writing coach to work with me on developing the story and helping me to create the titles and then, what's the message? So for example, one of, the titles are now, mindset over money, the importance of knowing how to collect the cash, understanding cash flow, encouragement for new entrepreneurs. And then I have this really cool thing called the collection zone. If you're a sports fan, you'll appreciate that. And so going through, right. So if you're a sports fan, your favorite sports person, he or she gets into the zone before the game. You usually see them with their headset, they got the music on, they're focused on all the things they got to do to play the game. They got to bond with their teammates, and then they got to study that person that they guard or whatever. And it's like that mindset. So in the book, I talk about getting into the collection zone, but you have to get the book to get all the scoop. Y'all can't get everything on this conversation, but listen, you will learn about the collection zone, and it's a cool thing, and you'll appreciate it. But so just coming through that whole experience of writing it, getting titles, and then going through the editing process and submitting it, and then the publisher who ended up publishing the book coming back and say, well, I don't think this is quite it, and then giving it back to you to go back to the writing coach to go through a few more rounds. So we did a few rounds of this before we finally got the manuscript that she says, yes, now this is a story that I can get behind and I can publish. Mm-hmm. And she did. And I mean, I'm forever grateful, but it's a journey. And I think that most people, when they're looking at books now, they think, oh, you can just slap something together, put it up on Amazon, and it's just that. No, a real book requires time, energy, effort. You need to get an expert that can see whether your sentence structure makes sense and if the story's making sense and all the things. So it's all that part of it, which now allows me to have this beautiful presentation called Collect the Cash. And it's an amazing thing. It's just like, wow.
I loved how you described that because, you made a good point there. There are people who have written a book, slap their name on it, whatever, throw it up on Amazon so they can claim they're an author. But you didn't do that. You wrote your signature book. And
I did.
I can kudos to you, congratulations to you, because you now have that valuable tool that you can use to promote yourself and promote your business. So here's a question that I ask every author that comes on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you did talk a little bit about it, but I want you to answer these 3 specific things. So what was the good, the bad, and the ugly about writing a book?
Well, the good obviously is having the complete project. The bad is, I can't really say it was bad. I'll say it this way. I think the bad is, okay, I can answer that question this way. When you think about bad, especially if you've gone to school, if you've got a degree or degrees, you think you know how to write. Especially because, think about it, if you've got a bachelor's degree, especially if you got a bachelor or master's degree, you crack it up because you know I'm telling the truth. You think you know how to write. And then you realize, I don't know how to do this. Even though you've got this advanced degree and you've written papers or written articles or whatever. Writing an article, writing a paper for graduate school, and writing a book are 3 different things. And it's like, okay, it's not that. And so the bad part is that you have to acknowledge what you don't know. And then you have to, in my case, you have to be willing to come under or submit to or work with somebody who's an expert. And I happen to have been blessed to work with I worked with phenomenal experts, and they were brilliant in what they did. And I realized that I didn't know how to do this. And I was like, okay, if you want to have, and that was the question they asked me was, do you want a book or do you want a significant book that is well done, well put together, and when it gets reviewed, when he gets a book review, like in this case, Collect the Cash got 4 stars first time.
Yay. Awesome.
That part. Thank you. So you said the good, the bad, and what was the last question?
Oh, the ugly.
Well, I think the ugly of the book writing process is, one, you think you have an idea, and then you go present it to the book coach or to the writing coach, and you're like, well, I think you should change this, and then then you're like, I've been working on this, then you get in your feelings because you're like, well, I thought, and then the ugly part is whether you decide whether you're going to hold on to what you think is right, or whether you're willing to make the adjustments and say, you know what, thank you for gratitude. Thank you for giving me this constructive criticism. Now, you can decide whether you take the constructive criticism or you stay stuck on your feelings and you don't get anything done, or you go, yep, I'm having some feelings about this, and you be a good grown up and you go, yep, I'm feeling about this, and then you take a moment or 2 or 3 or however long it takes you, and then you get back up and you decide, I want to get this done. Because I think in regards to COVID, not that COVID is the driving factor, but I think COVID to me was God's timeout, but it was also this time for you to decide what do you want to get done. And because, even before COVID, life was already precious anyway. Good, bad, or indifferent. Life was already precious. But I think that COVID was this wake up for you. If you got to get things done, you're going to have to buckle down, do the work, go through the process, and then get yourself something to show for it. So for me, coming out of COVID I'm not coming out of COVID without having accomplished something. So my book was my motivator. I was coming out of this with something to show for having been home working and going, okay, what can we do? And then secondly, it was to leave a legacy. So I'll say this, that I wrote Collect the Cash to leave my legacy. There are lots of financial people out here. You've got the David Box, the Susie Ormans, the Tiffany Alicia, and all the other people, Deborah Owens, all that. But I don't know anybody that talks to business owners like I do about collecting the cash and why you need to track your invoices and follow up and the systems. Everybody talks to you about saving money, getting out of debt, and all those things are important. You need that part too. But as a business owner, you need to know how to sell, but you also need to know how to collect your cash. And I haven't seen anybody talk about this. And so I was challenged to, leave my legacy through my book. And the blessing is that now it exists. Now there's the book and there's other things, but it's like, yeah. And now I get to serve business owners and teach them, why this matters, and have fun along the way, and teach them the answer to the question, what had happened was with my money. That part.
One of the biggest issues that entrepreneurs have is the cash flow. And if there's no cash flow, there ain't no business.
Exactly. 1000% correct. Yep.
You've worked so hard to get this client or this customer, and, now they're not paying. And, it just creates so much stress. So I am so thankful, because I do remember talking to you about it. And I remember saying to you, Dee, you need to write that book.
You sure did.
Right. And so I am so glad that you did it. Now we've got a couple of minutes left. I want to focus in on something that I don't get to do with every single author, but you were telling me some things just before we got on the call here. So what are some of the results that you have seen in yourself, in your business, in your life, since publishing this book and getting it out there?
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. In three weeks from today, I'll be speaking for the Small Business Development Center at Howard University.
I love it.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. Let's see. Well, I launched the book, I said, in Times Square on a billboard. Not many authors get to do that, and that was a beautiful experience to be able to launch the book and see it in Times Square. So that was pretty cool. What else have I seen? I'm speaking more. I know. I spoke at the Run Women's Conference, the Run Women's Conference in Dallas, Texas, at the Texas Rangers Global Life Field.
Nice.
I got to Collect the Cash. Collect the Cash was the premier book at that conference. And I got to do a presentation on what had happened was how to collect the cash to keep your business profitable. And here was a cool thing. I sold out of all my books at the conference.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I got a little hint or tip for you.
Okay.
So if you've got to fly somewhere where you're speaking, did you know that through Amazon, if you go into the Amazon back office, you can order books and have them shipped wherever you want? And what a lot of authors and my clients do, because this is what I told them to do, is, you make arrangements with either the hotel, the conference center, whatever, and they're used to this, that you're going to ship the books directly to them. They will hold the books for you until the conference.
Okay,
You don't have to take those books with you on the plane and pay for it.
Okay, good to know. And that will be something for the next time. This was my first time doing it, and it was totally fine. But that's a great tip, and I appreciate that insight, and I will make sure to do that for the next time. But yeah,
because it saves you a lot of money, and you're not physically hauling all of those.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing too is that you guarantee the books are there, because with flights that sometimes things go missing, right?
So
by and so you want to make sure that they're sent and they arrive days before or a week before your conference or whatever, right, to ensure that they're there for you. But that was just a hint and tip.
I appreciate it.
Now, how has it been in building your business? So you're getting more speaking engagements. Have you used your book as sort of that extended business card, that calling card? And what kind of results have you been getting from that?
Well, Kim, that's actually how I landed at the Small Business Development Center. The person, the executive director of that center, actually bought my book, and he read it. And then he reached out to me and he said, hey, would you be willing to come in and do a presentation to our small business owners? And I said, yes. So that's the biggest thing I've had. That's one. And then number two was being selected to speak at the Run Women's Conference. The creator of the conference actually wrote the foreword for the book, and she said, hey, can you come in and speak to us about this? So just getting out there and starting to talk about the book and telling the stories. And I think the other thing too that's been helpful is that when people hear how much money I've collected, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I'm intimidated. And I have to tell them, listen, I didn't start out collecting millions of dollars. I started out collecting $5. I've been doing this for years. And I sell that because I don't want people to get nervous because they hear me say, oh, you've done millions. That's true. I have done millions. I've done it for organizations, government agencies, et cetera. But I had to get started like doing $5 and $10. And it's just like anything else. You have to build your muscle. Just like becoming an author. You don't become an author the first time you take out a piece of paper and a pen and you write down the first story. You got to keep writing and going through revisions and then getting constructive criticism and feedback and getting better. Well, I had to learn the things in recovering money, like, for example, using a sense of humor. Because when I used to first tell my story, I wasn't funny. People didn't know that I had a sense of humor. And I decided that the way to make this story interesting was to have some fun. So I literally told the story about me working with a government agency, and I was dealing with a customer, and I was reconciling their books, and I had, how much money was awarded, how much money was paid, and how much money was left over. I sent it to the vendor, and they said, "Dee, you're $9,000 short." I'm like, "How'd that happen?" They said, "Oh, well, we reconciled our books, and we found that we were overpaid, so we sent the money back to the Department of Treasury here in the States." I said, "Really? When did y'all do that?" And so they sent me a copy of the check, the information. And so I said, what had happened was they reconciled, and they said, we saw we were overpaid. Sent the money back. I got the information and found out the reason that I was $9,000 short is because in the memo section of the check, they put the wrong contract number, which goes back to my thing about problem solving, customer service, gratitude. So once I did what had happened was, my buddy who's in collections, she said, "Dee, that's hilarious. You need to use what had happened was," because everybody, regardless of what you do in life, everybody has one of those what had happened was story. You take your car in for an oil change. You think you're coming out spending $50. He puts it up on the rack, and you're like, "Oh, you got tires, you got brake pad issues, all these things." It doesn't matter. If you're writing a book, you go through the what had happened was, because you think your story is going to be this way, it changes, etc. The what had happened was is everybody has one of those scenarios, and whether you're collecting money, you're writing a book, you can find yourself in that. And then what do you have to do? You have to problem solve, figure out what transpired. Customer service is basically going the extra mile to solve, fix it. And then the gratitude is to say, "Thank you for helping me get my issue resolved."
So just as we close out, one thing I just wanted to comment on is, how you dealt with emotionally when, people kept telling you this had to be changed, right? And, so many times when we're writing our book, it's like, for women, it's like being pregnant and this baby, and, you're so emotionally tied up, this book becomes like your child, and like, how dare you tell me that my child's no good, right?
Yeah, that part. So how I dealt with the emotional part of writing the book was, number one, I let myself feel what I felt. If I had to have a good cry, I had a good cry. If I needed some wine, I went and got some wine. I took a walk with my bestie, or I took a walk by myself. I'm a person of faith, so me and God had a lot of conversations while I was writing this book. But all the things, because that's what makes the book better, is because when I went back and listened to the feedback and said, "Oh, I didn't see what you saw," when I allowed myself to have my feelings, and then did what I needed to do to get over that, and go, "Oh, okay, well, let's see if you do make the change, what will it look like?" And then when I made the changes, and then the publisher finally, she said, "Oh my gosh, you got it, yes." And when she read the entire thing along with the editors, they're like, "Okay, we can publish this because this is really good." And I took the time to hear what they were saying. And here was the beautiful thing. I was blessed to work with people who gave me the space and the grace to learn. Because this was my first time. I mean, I've got degrees and I've done papers, but I had never written a book before. I've done a chapter in a book. I've been part of a couple of anthologies, but that ain't the same thing as writing the entire book and coming up with the design and all the things, understanding the publishing piece and learning about Ingram Sparks, how you order books, the whole process, all of that. I'm grateful that they were patient enough with me while I was learning to understand. Because I didn't want to just write the book. I wanted to understand the process, and they gave me the grace to learn and ask the questions. And I was definitely blessed, and I'm grateful to them for that.
So we're right at time here. So Dee, tell us how people can get your book and connect with you.
Sure thing. Well, first of all, Kim, thank you so very much for the invite to come back to Author to Authority podcast. So the book is available you can buy, to get a signed copy from me, you go to www.collectthecash.biz/book. That's www.collectthecash.biz/book. It's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, and Walmart. But signed copy, www.collectthecash.biz, that's a zebra, /book, and you get a signed copy from me.
I love it. Collectthecash.biz.
/book. Yeah, because if you go to the biz, you won't get it on there. But if you go to /book, you can get it directly, a direct copy from
I
there.
just like how it's biz because it's just like so appropriate to the book itself.
Yeah.
Well, Dee, thank you so much for coming back and updating us on what's been going on in your life. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to have you. And
Thank you.
to you, the listener, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you on the very next episode. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now.